Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a story that's, well, it's been making serious waves. Wall Street, Washington. Everyone's talking about it.
Absolutely. We're looking at this escalating, very public feud between Elon Musk and former President Donald Trump.
And this isn't just, typical political back and forth. We're talking about real, tangible impacts here, especially for Musk's companies, Tesla and SpaceX. Billions of dollars are on the line.
That's exactly right. And our mission today really is to get past those headlines. We want to unpack what actually triggered this latest round.
Look at the money involved.
Exactly. The huge financial figures, especially around government subsidies, and then critically dissect the market consequences, how this affects you, how policy shapes industry, even for giants like Musk.
Right. And to do that, we've pulled together insights from some really solid sources: Bloomberg, Economic Times, CBS News, Al Jazeera, Forbes Australia.
And sharp analysis from places like JP Morgan and Wedbush, too. So a good range of perspectives to draw on.
Okay, let's dive in. Where did this particular fire really start? It seems centered around legislation, doesn't it?
It does. The spark, you could say, was President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Elon Musk came out swinging against it hard.
He didn't mince words, did he?
Yeah.
I remember seeing quotes like insane and destructive.
Oh, yeah. He called it that pork-filled, even went as far as calling it a disgusting abomination. Very, very strong language.
For someone like Musk, definitely.
Yeah.
And he wasn't just name-calling. He laid out specific concerns, warnings about the impact.
He did. He warned it would, and I'm quoting here, destroy millions of jobs in America. Also that it would severely damage industries of the future.
And add a ton to the debt, right?
Yeah, he flagged an extra $1 trillion to the original spending plan. So it was a full frontal assault on the bill's economic rationale.
And then it got even more personal, politically speaking.
It really escalated. He started talking about forming a new political party, the America Party, and even threatening primary challenges against Republicans who supported the bill. He said they would lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth.
That is drawing a serious line in the sand. Going after incumbents like that.
You throw down a gauntlet like that against someone like Donald Trump, you have to expect a response.
And it came quickly. Via Truth Social, as expected.
Yep. Swift and direct. Trump hit back right where it could potentially hurt Musk the most, his reliance on government support.
Saying Musk gets more subsidies than anyone else.
His exact words were, Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far.
Yeah.
Which, sets the stage for the threat.
Which was?
Basically that without those subsidies, Musk would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. Quite the image.
Implying no more SpaceX launches, no Tesla production.
Exactly. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production. And crucially for Trump's argument, our country would save a fortune, linking Musk's politics directly to taxpayer money.
He even brought up that DOGE agency idea, didn't he? The Department of Government Efficiency.
Right, the DOGE acronym, clearly a nod to Musk's interest in Dogecoin. Trump suggested DOGE should take a good, hard look at this to save big money.
And he made a point of reminding everyone about Musk's previous endorsement, contrasting it with his own stance against EV mandates.
He did. He said Musk knew, long before he so strongly endorsed me for president, that I was strongly against the EV mandate. Really turning the screws, highlighting perceived inconsistencies.
This whole exchange really throws the spotlight onto just how much government support matters, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and that brings us squarely to the billion-dollar question here. What is the actual scale of this support?
Let's talk numbers. SpaceX first.
Okay, SpaceX. The figures are pretty staggering. Over its lifetime, it's received government contracts worth over $21 billion. Some sources push that closer to approximately $22 billion.
That's a massive amount. For launches, satellites.
All of the above. Critical stuff, national security launches, NASA missions, satellite programs. It's a deep partnership.
And Tesla. It's maybe less direct contracts, but still significant benefits.
Exactly. Tesla benefits hugely from EV incentives, clean energy subsidies, and maybe most importantly, these things called regulatory credits.
Okay, break those down for us. Regulatory credits.
Right. So basically, government set emissions standards. Companies like Tesla, making only EVs, generate way more credits than they need because they have zero emissions.
So they can sell the extra.
Precisely. They sell them to other automakers who aren't meeting the standards and need the credits to avoid fines. And for Tesla, that's pure profit. In 2024 alone, the estimate was $2.8 billion just from selling these credits.
$2.8 billion. Just from credits enabled by regulation.
Yep. It's a huge, often overlooked revenue stream directly tied to government policy.
You can see why critics then argue that Musk's companies have gotten, tens of billions in support from federal programs. It raises questions about fair play, spending.
Absolutely. These aren't trivial amounts. It highlights just how intertwined these companies are with government policy and funding.
So when Trump threatened the subsidies, Musk's response was interesting, kind of paradoxical.
It really was. He tweeted, quite bluntly, "I am literally saying CUTIT all now."
Which seems odd given how much his companies benefit, especially from things like the EV tax credit historically.
Well, that's the nuance, isn't it? Sources point out that while the EV tax credit was crucial for Tesla early on, now it mostly helps other car makers compete against Tesla by making their EVs cheaper. So cutting it might actually hurt his competitors more now.
Ah, okay. A strategic angle, perhaps. And then almost immediately, that big, beautiful bill. It actually did target those credits.
It did. It cleared the Senate. And remember, Vice President J.D. Vance cast the tie-breaking vote on that. And tucked inside was a surprise move to end the EV tax credits earlier than planned.
So, not just a threat anymore. What's the estimated financial hit for Tesla?
J.P. Morgan crunched the numbers. They estimated losing that EV tax credit could cost Tesla around $1.2 billion annually. That's a direct hit to the bottom line.
Wow. Okay. And circling back to that DOGE agency for a second.
Right, the Department of Government Efficiency. Musk actually led that briefly.
And that caused some controversy itself, didn't it? Conflict of interest concerns.
Significant concerns, yes. Critics pointed out that he seemed to be targeting budget cuts at agencies that were, well, investigating his own companies.
Like who?
Specifically, reports mentioned the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, which was looking into Tesla's safety issues.
Autopilot and such.
Exactly. And also the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, which was investigating Neuralink. So leading a cost-cutting agency while potentially targeting your own investigators, it raised serious questions.
Okay, so you've got this high-stakes political battle, massive sums of money involved. The market must have reacted.
Oh, it reacted all right, swiftly and negatively for Tesla. The stock plunged nearly 5% on Tuesday, July 1st. And that was after it already dropped almost 2% the day before.
Some reports had it even worse momentarily.
Yeah, some outlets reported it falling $18.98, which is 6% in morning trading that Tuesday. It dipped below $300, hitting a 3-week low.
And this wasn't the first hit related to this feud, was it?
Not at all. These drops were piled on top of a massive $150 billion wipeout in Tesla's market value that happened back in early June, when this feud really started heating up publicly.
So the cumulative effect is significant. How does Tesla's performance look in the broader context?
It stands out, and not in a good way. Year to date, Tesla shares were down 21%. Since the end of May, when these arguments flared up, they were down 13%.
And the rest of the market?
During that same late May to early July period, the S&P 500 was actually up 5%. So you can really see how this political drama was hitting Tesla specifically much harder than the overall market trend.
And what about Musk personally? His net worth must have taken a hit too.
A huge hit. On that Tuesday alone, his net worth reportedly plummeted by $12 billion. Forbes noted it was the largest single-day loss for any billionaire they track.
$12 billion in a day. Even for him, that's noticeable.
It certainly is. Now, he's still vastly wealthy, way ahead of the next person, but it shows the immediate personal financial cost of this kind of public fight.
Understandably, this seems to be making investors nervous.
Very nervous. Analysts are saying investors are rattling, feeling increasingly uneasy. And it's not just about the policy risks, the potential loss of subsidies.
It's about Musk's behavior, too.
Exactly. There's a growing concern about his increasingly political behavior, the feeling that it's becoming a distraction from running Tesla effectively, taking his eye off the ball, so to speak.
Any specific comments from analysts on that?
Yes, Dan Ives at Wedbush was particularly blunt. He said, Tesla investors want Musk to focus on driving Tesla and stop this political angle.
Makes sense from an investor perspective.
He added, at the end of the day, being on Trump's bad side will not turn out well. He called the whole situation a soap opera that remains an overhang on Tesla's stock.
A soap opera overhang. That's quite a description. And there are deeper fears, too, right, about regulation?
Yes, definitely. Investors worry about more scrutiny around Musk-related U.S. government spending, particularly concerning the regulatory path forward for things like robotaxes and cybercabs.
Those rely heavily on government approval, future regulations.
Absolutely key. So, if Musk is alienating powerful political figures, it could potentially complicate or delay those crucial future projects. The political risk becomes a direct business risk.
An important note, this isn't all just happening in a vacuum. Tesla was facing some other challenges too, right? Business fundamentals.
That's a really important piece of context, yes. Beyond the political drama, Tesla was already dealing with some broader headwinds, sales challenges, particularly in Europe.
How bad were they?
June marked the 6th month in a row of falling sales in places like Sweden and Denmark. Deliveries in China, another absolutely critical market, had also slipped.
So underlying business pressure was already there.
It was, which likely makes investors even more sensitive to these political distractions. And the forecast for Q2 deliveries wasn't great either. Analysts expected an 11% drop compared to the previous year.
From over 400,000 down to around 366,000.
That's the forecast, yeah. So there are real operational challenges happening alongside this high-profile feud.
And one more potential impact: customer perception.
Yes, reports also suggest that Musk's alignment with the Trump administration might be alienating at least some customers in the U.S. That's harder to quantify immediately, but brand image and customer loyalty are crucial long-term.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive really shows a complex picture. It's this volatile mix of business, politics, huge personalities.
And just how deeply even innovative giants like Tesla and SpaceX rely on government policy, on subsidies, on regulatory frameworks. True independence seems complicated.
It really makes you think. In an era where so much innovation seems tied to government money or rules, what does a feud like this tell us about the stability of these industries long term?
And maybe what responsibility do high-profile leaders have when their personal political actions can directly shake their company's finances, rattle investors, and potentially impact customers?
Definitely something to ponder. We'll leave you with that thought until our next deep dive.